camera is like dating. The brand new Sony ZV1 just came out and you thinking about putting a ring on it because it's new and it looks good, but like, it's throwing up a couple of red flags. And now depending on the person, these red flags may not be a deal breaker, but for a lot of other people, they actually might be. But they ignore the obvious because the Sony ZV1 looks good. Well, pimpin', this is where I'm gonna go ahead and step in and say that the brand new Sony ZvE1 may not be for you. Before I get into these Sony ZvE1 red flags, I gotta give a huge shout out to today's coffee sponsors, Flying Cameras, Cohen, and Daniel Arazi. Thank you so much for the coffee. And pimpin', if you wanna buy me a coffee, don't be shy, the link is down below. But if not, no tea, no shade, cause I ain't a hater and my hood never let me be a hater. First red flag and reason that you may not want to consider wifing this baby up has to be that it is not a entry-level camera. If you are a beginner or entering the space of being like a creator or content creator, whatever you want to say, this may not be a camera for you. And the main reason for that is that the price is not entry-level price. $2,200 is a steep price for an entry-level vlogging camera. If you are a beginner and you were just getting started, pimping, there are plenty of different options for you. Like, I mean, simply put, the Sony ZV1 is a much better option for you than the Sony ZvE1. Also, the FX3 as well as the Sony ZvE10 might be better off if you are a beginner and if you're looking to enter like as a beginner. It is definitely a better option. But the Sony ZvE1, I cannot say that this is an entry-level camera. Yeah, it's simple and extremely easy to use, but with the price tag of $2,200, and then that's not even including any lenses, you will be much better off getting something that's not $2,200. The Sony ZvE1 is not for beginners. It is more for along the lines of somebody that's more like me, somebody who's making money off of what they're doing, because at the end of the day, a Sony ZvE1 could do the job just as well. I'm just super saying. One of the biggest selling points of the Sony ZV1 is its size. Pimpin', you are getting a Sony FX3 as well as a Sony A7s III as well as the AI chip from the Sony R5, and you're getting it in a small body. And pimpin', this is a great thing, especially for somebody like me. But if you are looking to cop the brand new Sony ZV1 just because you think, because it's smaller, that you're gonna make more stuff, then my ninja, I hate to say it, but that's a red flag, and this camera may not be for you. Look, pimpin', I'm gonna keep it 1,000 with y'all. If you are not already making something, like if you haven't even started making anything, the Sony ZV1 is not gonna help you make more stuff. I'm just being real, because the problem wouldn't be the camera. Remember, we're the drip, be the drip. And now look, my ninja, look, I ain't hating, I'm just stating the obvious. It's like if you're in a relationship and you expect that you'll change because you're in a relationship, you shouldn't be in that relationship. Am I wrong? Although the lightweight and size are like huge pluses for the Sony ZvE1, if you are thinking that you're gonna make more stuff, that is a red flag. I mean, for example, take your boy Sky Buddy. If I'm hugging the block in my hood, I'm usually using the Sony A7s III. And then if I'm traveling, this would be perfect, but this would not stop me from making stuff. I can use my phone, I can use my Pocket 1, I can use my Pocket 2, I can use my GoPro, as well as I can use the Sony ZvE1. And believe it or not, but you got what you need right in your pocket. You don't need the plug-on 3-way. So thinking that you are gonna make more stuff by buying the Sony ZvE1 is a red flag, and you probably don't need it. And now for me, the Sony ZvE1 does fit. Plus, I paid for it with that Pocket 2 money, pimp. I'm just saying, I'm just saying. And now quick side note, because I thought of something just before throwing this video up, but another reason why the Sony ZvE1 may not be for you, and a major red flag for you, might be because you already have the Sony A7s III as well as like any other flagship camera. If you have one of those, you gotta have a really good reason to cop the Sony ZvE1. I mean, it could be like a B cam or something, but if you just looking to replace it, I highly recommend not doing it. Now, I'm just saying, pimpin', that's just my opinion. And now the next red flag that the Sony ZvE1 may not be for you is the simple fact that you like to shoot photos or you are a photographer. Because pimpin', there's no way of sugarcoating it, but this is not a hybrid camera. Like, I'm just being real. If you like to take photos, or photos is a part of your workflow or your hobby or your business, the Sony ZvE1 is not for you. And I'm sorry. It doesn't have an EVF, it doesn't have a mechanical shutter, and for a lot of people, 12 megapixels is a bit on the low side when it comes to taking photos. And now pimpin', don't get it twisted, 12 megapixels is plenty. I mean, 12 megapixels out of a full frame camera like the Sony A7S III or the Sony ZvE1 is much better than the photos that you'll get on a cell phone. Even though the cell phones are pushing like 48, 60, 100 megapixels, you will get much better image quality out of a Sony A7S III or the Sony ZvE1. My point is, if you are looking at the Sony ZvE1 and you take photos like 2% of the time, you may not want to get this because there are just much better options. For example, the Sony A7 IV. The Sony ZvE1 is a video only camera, pretty much. I mean, it does take photos, but it is definitely it's a video only camera. So again, for someone like me, it's perfect. I don't care about the EVF. I have never used the EVF on my Sony A7S III. Not once. It's actually turned off. And Pittman, I'm just not a photographer. I do not take photos on my bigger cameras. I just use my cell phone. So again, just keep it in mind, that is a red flag. If you like to take photos, the Sony ZvE1 does not have a mechanical shutter. It also does not have an EVF. And yeah, you can take photos on it, but there are much better options for you if you are a hybrid shooter. And yeah, don't get it twisted, this ain't a diss track. You can take photos on the Sony ZvE1. Plain and simple, if you are a photographer or looking to take photos, do not get the Sony ZvE1. It is not for you. Whew, super cricket. And now the last reason that the Sony ZvE1 may not be for you is an obvious red flag, and that is the possibility of overheating. So if you know that you're gonna be doing a lot of one takes that are like extremely long, or if you're gonna be using the camera to do some like podcasting or live streams and you wanna shoot in 4K, even though I don't know what podcast shoots in 4K, I mean, if you do, holla at the player, but ain't nobody shooting in 4K on a podcast. So again, if you know that you're gonna be doing a lot of long takes, the Sony ZvE1 may not be for you. I mean, your sit down could take like 50 minutes and you wanna shoot in 4K, the Sony ZvE1's not, it's just not for you. But if you are gonna be doing a lot of long takes and you're shooting in 1080p, there's no problem, no issue whatsoever. But when it comes to streaming though, I have heard that this does overheat when it comes to streaming. So again, this may not be for you. And Pippin, that's okay. The point of this video is not for you to just hate the Sony ZvE1, but again, it's for you to figure out what is right for you. Look, my ninjas, the last thing I want for you guys is to pick up the drip because of all my videos and then figure out that it's not for you and you only bought it because you watch my videos. Like for real, that is the last thing I would ever want from any of my subscribers. Because believe it or not, but this happened to me. I picked up the Canon R5 when it came out, and even though it was overheating like crazy, I didn't really care about that because of the way that I use the camera. But what I did care about is editing the footage. And when I found out that you could not edit these files from the Canon, even the 4K or 1080 files, I was like, bump that, we gotta return it. And I bought the Sony A7S. So pimpin', I understand how it feels to be watching videos and you all hyped and you get something that's not really for you. So make sure, that's why I be telling y'all, just make sure, hold off if you can. Oh, the popo trying to pull up. So yeah, baby, hold off if you can and just really make sure before you cop an investment like this, make sure it is right for you because it is pricey, $2,200, and that's without taxes. Like that's a lot of money. And now, yes, I am rocking the Sony A7S III, and I'm not selling it for the Sony ZvE1. Plus, it also cost me a little over $4,000, and that's pricey. But even until this day, it is probably the best investment I have ever made to all of this, to YouTube and to my business. So before you even think about wifing up a camera like this, because of its price range, you gotta be extra sure. If you can, I highly recommend either renting it or buying it with the intentions of getting everything you can out of it to see if it's for you and then returning it. Look, I ain't a hater and my hood never let me be a hater, but do what you gotta do. Like if it ain't for you, it ain't for you. Well, my ninjas, that is it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, and subscribe. Huge shout out to everybody who bought me a coffee. And if you want to buy me a coffee, don't be shy. The link is down below. But if not, no tea, no shade, because y'all already know I ain't a hater. Thanks again for watching, and let me know what you think about the Sony ZvE1. Is it for you? Does it suck? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.